I kind of threw the bombshell of I'm really not happy in our marriage anymore.
And it was largely due to cruising?
I would say more YouTube than cruising, yeah. You can clearly see playing with YouTube and buying subscribers.
But that person, I did message them because I wanted to see if they'd come on here. And in that conversation, they did actually admit that they bought subscribers in the beginning just to get to 1,000.
A YouTube channel is something that should be done on the side and something you get enjoyment out of. It should not be a full-time job.
The Sail Away Uncensored Cruise podcast.
So you guys launched your YouTube channel, Cruising with the 4Bs, in 2019, was it?
A little bit before that, but before that it was just a family channel with 9 subscribers, friends and family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think your channel's now at 6.5K. So you've done quite well. You've done lots of different cruise lines and cruise ships. I think you'd agree that since the pandemic, there's been like an explosion of cruise vloggers and influencers taking to YouTube. So for someone considering going onto YouTube and vlogging their cruise experiences, what should they be made aware of?
I think you have to be really mindful of what you want to get out of YouTube. I think a lot of people think you just put a video together, put it on YouTube, everyone views it, all of a sudden you make a load of money, and that's not the case at all. It takes so much hard work and dedication to actually get anywhere on YouTube just to hit those first 1,000 subscribers. And I think the pressure that it puts on couples, families is immense.
It's a lot of work. Like, I've got into a place now where I remembered why I love doing it. I love doing it because I love editing the videos. I love cruising. So those two elements, and I think when we first started, I think you suddenly get people watching. You think, wow, these are not family and friends. People are actually watching. People are interacting. And then you suddenly think, oh, actually people are starting to subscribe here. This is amazing, isn't it? And then you think, right, so then you start getting subscribers, then you start getting viewers, and then you suddenly think, right, okay, I need to get to that 1,000, and it takes over a year, doesn't it? We took over a year to get to the 1,000. And I think sometimes that people think that's the be all and end all. You're going to get to 1,000 subscribers, you're going to get viewers, and it's like, oh, you're suddenly going to be some massive YouTube star. We're not suddenly going to become Mr. Beast. We're not suddenly going to become some massive cruise YouTube star. And I think I would advise that, the fact, don't ever lose the fact of the enjoyment of why you're doing this. Do you know what I mean? The editing.
So when was that realization, that moment of, okay, it's more hard work than what I thought it was going to be?
So I think a lot of that came from, so Thomas, you are saying a lot of we, but I love cruising, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy that. The whole YouTube side of things has never really been a massive interest of mine. You both know me personally. You know that I don't watch YouTube. I haven't got a clue about most of the things going on in the YouTube world, whereas Tom really does. And that's something that he's always really enjoyed doing. And I think for me, it got to a point where we were just booking all of these cruises thinking that actually we were going to get somewhere and we were going to start making money. And then the realization of going on those cruises, Tom then putting out content and it not getting to where we wanted to be, it's a bit soul crushing, really, isn't it? And I think you think that you're going to get somewhere, and not everyone has got the same niche. And I think you really have to have a niche in YouTube to get to that point.
That first year is a really interesting year, because I think a lot of times you might gain a few subscribers. You might suddenly get a video that does really well, and mainly due to the content. A lot of our P&O content did really well. And then you'll do another video, maybe something you go on like a Virgin one, and you wonder why we only got 100, but it's because we've got a different audience. And then suddenly we would gain 50 subscribers and we'd lose 2. And we're suddenly like, what are we doing? Well, why have we just lost 3? Oh, no one likes our content. This is a disaster. It's a weird sort of, you sort of own every subscriber, don't you, for that first year.
To that 1,000. And then you get past that 1,000. And I remember my first point with YouTube was thinking, oh, actually, he's getting somewhere here, was when we had a comment that wasn't from friends or family. And I was like, oh, there's a random person commenting and actually saying, I really enjoyed your content. And I think for us as well, going forward with the channel, with Tom, we had a really long discussion and I said, you're spending so much time editing all of these videos and actually your vlog style videos are not doing great. Your ship tours are doing really well and your reviews are doing really well of ships. Maybe concentrate on that and put more into it. And actually, I think since you have done that, it has made a difference, but it did put massive pressures on our marriage because of YouTube. And I guess a lot of people that we have met in the cruise YouTube industry, the majority of them, I would say that both parties are very interested in both aspects of it. Whereas for me, again, I haven't got a clue about editing. Tom asked me to upload something and I go, what do I need to be doing? It doesn't interest me in the same way.
I think there's a temptation from a lot of YouTubers and vloggers to all copy one another. Like if they see another channel, a bigger channel, putting out vlogs, they think, oh, I'm going to do the same and it's going to be as successful. In our personal opinion, we've never thought that vlogs are the way forward. So something that I think is staringly obvious is that vlogs are only around for 5 minutes. They're so subjective, and it's about time. You'll put out a vlog, and okay, you might get some views in the beginning, but after 3, 4, 5 months, they're really going to start dropping down. Whereas a ship tour, from our experience, has a life of about 2 years, whereas a review, again, is about a year. But vlogs, I personally don't think they're the way forward. And I think, especially if you're a small channel, you can't go expecting to get the same results as Travel Blog Jamie and Ben and David and Emma Cruises. Like, these are exceptional YouTubers. They have a connection with their following, and it's quite difficult to get to that. With regards to what you were saying about earnings as well, I think for anyone setting out on their YouTube journey thinking about money rather than the cruise experience, forget it, because there's again, as you said, it's so rare that you're going to be able to earn enough to actually live comfortably. From personal experience, there's no way that we could have done it without launching the magazine. The only way that Dan and I were able to give up work was because we launched a magazine, and we couldn't have survived on just our YouTube earnings.
I think the other thing that I realised as well, you probably will realise it as well, is that the goalpost always moves.
Yeah.
You reach that 1,000, it's like, all right, I want that next 1,000. You know, yeah. I've earned X amount from my earnings. Well, I want to earn next. You're constantly trying to find that next goalpost to win.
I 100% agree. And I think people watching this today I always hear this comment on Facebook and stuff, they've done this review they liked because they're getting lots of free cruises, they're getting paid for this, and it's far from the truth of that. I think you do. So when you start out, your initial question was about when you first start on YouTube. I think everyone does it. They start out and they think, I'll get to 1,000. The phone would be off the hook of cruise companies saying, "Oh, come on my ship. Oh, yeah, do this." No, that doesn't happen at all. And I'm in such a good place, I think, now, because I've got my full-time job. We've got our channel, which I love doing the editing, and we love going on the cruises, but we go on the cruises now when we want to. If it's 6 months' time, in a year's time, if it's 2 weeks' time, it is. And I think when we first started, we're like, got to book this cruise, got to do that. And I think, people are going to, as I said, the cruise companies are going to be phoning us, you're going to be getting, it doesn't work that way at all. And as you said, everyone that's made a success of it doing something on the side. For you guys, it's the magazine. For like other YouTubers, it's travel agencies, which they obviously sometimes don't actually obviously connect, but they're doing a travel agency on the side. So it's all different. And I think, a YouTube channel is something that should be done on the side and something you get enjoyment out of. It should not be a full-time job. Do you agree?
100%. And I think now that you've had that realisation of it's not going to be your full-time job, and actually we both have full-time jobs. That is on the side. And yes, it's a nice small earning that we get every month from it. But again, you don't have that pressure of thinking, what's the next cruise? Where am I going to get the best content from? Yeah. Now we book a cruise because we want to go on that cruise and because actually it's affordable for us as a family of 4, not because we just think, oh, I'm going to go and do that and it's going to be amazing. Take Princess, for example. Yeah. So Tom actually had booked to go on Princess and the maiden voyage had been cancelled. So he did get invited on and Ernest managed to go on with him. However, your views from those Princess videos were not what we were expecting them to be. So had you actually paid out initially for that, I think that would have been a bit of a come down of, well, actually that didn't do as well as I thought. But in hindsight, actually, it did amazingly because you got a week on there with Ernest where you were actually invited onto the ship and you got to really enjoy it because you didn't have that pressure of I've got to do X, Y, and Z to be amazing.
So we had something very similar with Celebrity Ascent that we did. So we did it, I think she was 3 weeks old at the time, and we thought we were going to get all these views, and then when it actually came around to it, we didn't. And I think it was probably for the same reason. When you're covering large Americanized cruise ships, it is very, very difficult to compete with the American
YouTubers.
The American YouTubers. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
And I think we've had conversations between ourselves, like P&O performs well for both of us.
Yeah.
Ambassador has performed well for us. So I think it really depends on the cruise line, but I don't think you should, or any YouTuber should obsess on content. If you like a cruise line, go on it, experience it.
It shows in their videos. It does. It really does. Like if you're enjoying it, you can see it in someone's video, whether it's a vlog or whether it's a tour, whatever it might be. You can really tell that they've spent more time on it and really 100%. Connected with the ship.
I agree, Dan, and I think sometimes as well, people sort of think about vlogs as well, and actually 99% of the time, that's just not natural walking around talking into the camera. They've put a lot of work in it. We're talking to someone quite big, Ben and David, you know what I mean? People always sort of think, oh, well, you know, they're just wandering around talking. All of that would have been planned. You know, all of it is planned to a T. Do you know what I mean? And it looks good. It's really, really good. When we used to do it, we'd sometimes come back to the cabin and we'd talk about the day and stuff. And it was all scrapped because it would look terrible. At the time, we thought, maybe because we'd had a couple of beers as well. So we thought, this is brilliant. This is going to be really good. Got back and the camera's like this and it was just
sunburn everywhere.
And as Rachel was saying, unless it was Embarkation, it didn't get many views. So we're doing all this, you know.
With Embarkation, the reason why I personally think Embarkation videos always do well in general for a cruise YouTuber is because the viewer is more interested about the information about embarking a ship rather than anything else that's going on in that video. Because the reason why people go on YouTube is to find that information.
100%.
Then when you get into day 7 or 12 or whatever it is of the vlogs, it's kind of like, oh, I've seen the bit of information I want now. I'm not so interested down the line in that part now. But then going back to the point of like, you know, when you're going around doing a vlog and planning it, I know firsthand when I come to do, full ship tours, I'll spend about 15-20 minutes in a venue just standing in there, making sure the lighting's right over there and that there's no cups on the tables. I'll lay a table if I need to make sure it's all ready. So I fully understand that as well. But just touching on, so, you know, we were saying everyone's got their own style of YouTube, and, you know, they've got things on the side like Patreons and meet and greets and whatever it may be. Does none of that interest you, Rachel? Would you not like to set up a meet and greet?
No, we're not celebrities. We have a YouTube channel. We do have people that follow us and take an interest in us. However, I work full-time, Tom works full-time. We have 2 small children. We don't have the time, and I don't really... It just doesn't appeal to me. And as Tom said, we're not using YouTube as something that we are going to make a living out of. I think Tom's background has always been entertainment. So for him, YouTube, I think, is now his creative outlet that he uses. And that's fantastic because it actually gives him something that he can put all of his energy into. But no, going forward, I think the whole idea of Patreon, to me, it just makes me cringe a little bit inside. I don't want to be going on a cruise with my 2 children who are going, Mummy, can I have this? Mummy, can I have that? And I'm going, hang on a second, let me just go buy some postcards from the shop for my Patreon viewers. I'm sorry for anyone that does it and they get enjoyment out of it. But for us, our lives are just too busy to be doing that. And I've got too many other things that I'm thinking about. So YouTube viewers, as much as it's lovely for everyone that watches our videos, but I think a lot of people, for us as well, they like how real we both are. And anyone we've ever met has said that we are exactly the same in person as we are when they watch us on YouTube.
Sorry, I'm jumping in front of you, but I think for things like Patreon, I'd only want to do it if sometime in the future, a long time in the future, the channel naturally grows, and we get to a place where one of us is full time. Because I don't want to do a money grab. We don't have the time to be getting £2 a month off of somebody to send them a postcard, or to just give them a little bit, because I feel like I was ripping them off. I wasn't offering them something. If I was full time and I could dedicate a day where I was giving them content, I know there's content creators out there that give them exclusive content. That is brilliant. And that's really bit for us at the moment. I have enough time to make sure my videos are quality, and that's what we're saying now. We don't go for every Sunday. I'll go when a video's ready because it's got quality to it. If I was doing anything else, it'd just be a money grab. And I don't want to be getting £2 off somebody a month just to money grab. And as far as group cruises, no. In the fact of, on a cruise, you know me, and this is a proof of it now, I will talk to absolutely anybody. And I get into conversations about absolutely anything. But it's not through the YouTube channel. It's because I enjoy just talking. I remember last year when we were on Arvia, we met so many people. None of them knew about our channel.
No.
Absolutely none of them. But we just got in conversations with people because they wanted to engage. And then I would end up talking to Rach, be like, oh, he's talking about the channel again.
But with patrons and group cruises and fan meets, etc., I do feel that it's just one YouTuber sees another doing it and he's like, oh, I need to do that now. And I think it's very, very, very clear that you have to be in the elite to actually make these work. So, you know, Ben and David, Emma, Tips for Travellers, Travel Blog Jamie, they have got hundreds of patrons. And, you know, you're talking about people that they've been doing this for years. Like, they've got bags of personality, they've got a connection with their viewers, and people are prepared to pay a bit of money each month to support them. But I think there's some channels that go into patrons far too quickly, and they think that they're going to surge ahead. And you see it all the time, that, you know, it's almost begging for patrons, go and subscribe. Oh, please, if you like our videos, please go and subscribe. It's not the approach that we've ever done. I mean, we've never we don't even ask for subscribers in our videos. You know, we'll put a pop-up to subscribe, but we never ask people. If someone likes our videos enough, they'll go and subscribe.
Yeah.
But I do think it's quite amusing when you see, like, one of the perks on patrons, oh, we're going to tell our viewers or our patrons where we're cruising to next. I couldn't give a stuff. Like, I'm bothered about where I'm cruising to next, not where someone on you. And I honestly,
Rachel loves those announcements.
Do you pay for them?
All of them, Dan.
And I know that there's going to be people in the community that will absolutely hate me for what I've just said, but I wouldn't be arrogant enough to think that anyone would give a stuff about where we're cruising to next.
But then again, I think it goes back to it, doesn't it? I mean, you guys were the first YouTubers from the cruise community that I had ever met. I've said I had no idea about cruising or channels. I just happened to be on the same cruise as you, and Tom had told me all about you. I think when I first met you, I said, look, I've never watched a single one of your videos. I haven't got a clue what you do.
I remember meeting you vividly, actually.
What a compliment.
Yeah.
But that's me, and I am me, and I'm not going to be fake. And I think when it goes back to, like, the group cruises and stuff, I just think with the cruise community, like you say, there's a lot of smaller channels that are very much in with bigger channels, and a lot of them kind of go off of their, what's the word I'm looking for? Go off of their tails, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Coattails.
Coattails. I was thinking of that, but I'm thinking that's not right. So they just go, oh, well, I know that person, so actually I'm going to get somewhere with that, and that can be promoted for me elsewhere. And I think a lot of smaller channels that have started to do group cruises, it is because of their connections with bigger YouTubers that they've got. And I personally just couldn't care less about meeting. And when we've been on cruises, I'm really sorry, I know, I'm really blunt, but you're going to kill me when we leave this studio. But even when we've met people on cruises, and I don't have a clue who they are, and I'm going to Tom, who's that person over there? And then they kind of won't talk to me because I think they assume because they watch YouTube or they know who we are, that we know who they are. And actually, I'm not that person that's in a YouTube video. I am I'm not a very different person. I am the same person, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't sort of, we're a meet and greet, we're going to celebrities for you because we're on the cruise, we're enjoying it as a family and...
Not walking around with our merchandised T-shirts and hats.
Oh, you would never get a Cruising with the 4Bs T-shirt, logo?
No, I really wouldn't.
Hat?
No.
Wait a minute, don't say never, because we might look back on this, people might be saying, we might have...
Well, you might walk around in it, but I will certainly not be walking around.
Look, when we were Sail Away with Dan and Jay, we had a T-shirt. We'd wear it now and again. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting your branding out on a T-shirt now and again, but we did that for ourselves.
I would for myself, wearing around the house.
But you wouldn't buy any. You wouldn't go off and
buy someone else's.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go. No. It's a bit like going to Alton Towers and buying an Alton Towers hoodie for the one day you've been there, and you never wear it again.
I used to wear hoodies for Disney.
I imagine
go off the ride. I used to buy. Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I had a really good Tower of Terror hoodies and all sorts. Yeah.
I do think there's certain YouTubers though that literally live in them.
Yes.
You don't see them in normal clothes. They're always in this merch, and it does seem just a little bit too hungry to be seen and to be noticed. And that's something we've never craved, to be honest. I mean, okay, we're doing this podcast, but we've launched this podcast because we enjoy talking to like-minded cruisers. And it's down to a passion. We have never, ever wanted to be recognised. Or it was quite funny when we went on, and they won't mind me saying this, when we went on Ambassador's Ambition with Sisters on the Seas, I think they were stopped like 10 times in that cruise and recognised. We weren't recognised once.
That was interesting because we did text you after the first podcast you did, and I said, it's brilliant to have you on the camera. You were very natural. But that's probably this is probably one of the first times that people have seen you.
So that hunger for success, let's talk about cheating that goes on YouTube.
Let's.
So we often talk about illicit activities that are going on, and you see that certain channels their subscriber base are growing mysteriously quickly. What are your thoughts on them and YouTube sitting idle while this goes on?
I think it's quite sad. And I actually do feel for people that feel that they have to. I think when we first started, I think you did mention at one point, oh, well, you can do X, Y, and Z to get more subscribers. And I said, just wait for it, and it will happen at some point. And I think actually going out and paying, it's the reputation of your YouTube channel, because everyone else can see what they are doing. There's so many sites out there you can look on to see the growth of other channels. And although, yes, I might not be very into watching YouTube and doing all of those things, I'm very proud of my husband, and I do look at all of the content that he uploads. I look at the subscribers, I look at all of the comments, and I also do look at the competition. And that's something that I have done throughout our YouTube journey. And watching people, and I think there was a YouTube channel that had always been a little bit ahead of us, and then we started growing. We overtook them by, I think, 300 subscribers. And then the next time I looked, they'd overtaken us by 2,000. And I was like, how has that happened when we have got over double the amount of views that this channel has? And the rate at which subscribers were growing, you could just see that it wasn't organic. Before we actually came into the studio, we did do a little bit of looking, didn't we, on Social Blade? Yeah. And there's another channel who had 30,000 views and grew 6,000 subscribers with 30,000 views. We had, to put it into context, we had 37,000 views from the 1st of August and went up 120. Like, it just doesn't correlate. The numbers don't work out to have how many 100,000, 250,000 views, and to have 30 plus thousand
with
subscribers.
that channel that you're referencing, I think they're currently growing at 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers a week, or just something absurd.
The other thing you can see on the statistics as well is that even though they grow, let's say 200 in a few days,
they drop back down.
They'll
again.
lose the 200, or if not more. And don't get me wrong, of course, channels fluctuate. You gain some, you lose some, of course, but you don't.
It's not by the
not by
hundreds.
the same amount of numbers.
I think they think we're idiots as well. And I was intrigued by this one channel that we're talking about, and I looked on, and there was a video that had 12,000 views and 8,000 likes. And to get 8,000 likes, Emma Cruises did. So I double checked. So I thought I'll go to the top of the cruise world. She had a video of 300,000, and she had 7K. Do you know what I mean? 8,000 those people on a 12 that are not going to like that video. It's just the way it is. And I just going back to how do I feel? I think a lot of channels, and I've seen it on lives, go, well, we're not interested. We're not interested in our stuff, brushing it off. But it's the reputation of every cruise channel. Because if people are going there, YouTube tells us subscriber count is important, right? So they go into the channel and they're seeing a channel that's 36,000 subscribers. Majority of those have been bought. They're seeing the quality of it and they're thinking, oh God, this is, I don't want to be watching cruise videos. YouTube is telling us that the subscriber count is a thing. So why are they doing? Absolutely, they're just not interested. I heard something. You have to make 15 complaints, separate complaints to a channel for them to do something about it. And it brushes the reputation of everyone out there. If you've got endless money, you want to throw money at it, then you can promote it. Google and YouTube allow you to advertise your channel, and plenty do that, and it's perfectly fine. And you're giving the choice to people saying, this is my video. If you want to watch it, you watch it. That's perfectly fine. If you've got a budget, we've got a zero budget for advertisement, but that's what or spend that money on another cruise so you get other content. That is the good thing about our channel, is that we put it out there. And if people are interested, I know there's an element of YouTube, obviously, get the algorithm and all that sort of stuff. So, you are fighting that a little bit. But we know we put a video out there. If people are interested if it's good quality, they will watch it. If they're not interested, they won't. And that really annoys me in the fact that we shouldn't be just brushing off, especially YouTubers that are very large and their mates are doing this. They're buying subscribers, etc. And are they having a word in their ear?
What annoys me, though, is that you're saying about the larger YouTube channels. One that comes to mind, they will condemn some. They will heavily imply that some person is doing something wrong because they continually upload a rainy video, but then with someone else that they're very close to is clearly indulging in illicit activities and nothing is said whatsoever. That's what annoys me. And that's why there is bitterness in the community, is because it's like, well, why can they get away with it when I'm putting the effort in and working hard to grow organically? Yeah. And that channel that you said about, where they were behind you and then all of a sudden they shot up, they got to 5,000 subscribers and then they virtually doubled their subscriber base this year alone. But in terms of views, there is no increase at all. It's linear. The views have continued to go up, but for some reason, unknown reason, there's been a huge spike with subscribers. And that particular channel has now blocked us on absolutely everything because they asked us why they weren't on our top 100 YouTube list. And we turned around to them and said, we don't buy your numbers. There's something really dodgy with them. And they turned around and said, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. We did think that we'd gone up. And I just said, well, didn't you think about where they were coming from? Didn't you think about letting YouTube know? Because if it was me, I'd be scratching my head thinking, well, hang about, I've gone from an average daily subscriber amount of 11 and on this day I've got 300 or 400 in a day, but then tomorrow YouTube take 200 or 300 of them back. That's not normal. No. And I think a lot of the time these people believe their own lies.
But they do. Yeah.
And you know, it's really interesting. So about this particular channel. So I remember it was your first magazine, and I knew that we had overtaken them, and I was a bit like, oh, amazing, like we're going up. And then you put out your list, and I remember messaging you at the time and saying, hang on a minute, we were like 400 ahead of them last week. How has that happened? And so going back to you saying about not including people on the list that you can clearly see are playing with YouTube and buying subscribers, 100%, that is exactly what you should be doing. It's not fair to put people on there who are cheating the system, really. And then you've got people that are working really hard to build a channel, and it does take time. I remember when we hit our first 1,000, and it seemed to take absolutely forever until we got to that point. But then you do see, like you say, with the algorithm with YouTube, we know that it takes us now about a month and a half to hit another 1,000, and that's been pretty consistent. And it takes it goes up, doesn't it? The more that you go up to another 1,000, it becomes quicker.
And I could hear people shouting now, why do you care? But the reason you care is because you absolutely love. For me, I love doing the videos, and I love when I've finished it. I'm like, even if only 100 people watch it, or 100,000 people watch it, I love doing that. And when people watch it, and people subscribe as well, and they say you subscribe, that's my reward. I'm like, that's brilliant. Somebody I don't know has watched that. Somebody has got belief in our channel, and that's all the reward. It's no money, doesn't mean any money or anything like that. It's the reward of saying, you know, well done for doing that. That was really good, and I've got something out of that. When somebody else is buying likes, when they're buying subscribers, to me, it drives me mad. And I don't understand when people say, oh, it's just up to them, you know, you just do your own thing, because I get so much reward out of that. You even, you know, the bits you do YouTube,
but they are part of the problem. Those channels where like, oh, well, I'm not bothered about other channels, I'm just focused on what I'm doing. They are part of the problem, because they're allowing it to go on. It's not a level playing field. No. You know, you wouldn't want to play Monopoly with someone that's just helping themselves to cash out of the banker's pot, would you? You know, and although views is king on YouTube, and I try and stress that where I can, people do judge the success of a YouTube channel by their subscribers. Yeah. And when you see that you've put in all this effort to get your channel to where it is, and then you've got another channel that just overtakes you, a bit like that one of the channels you referenced a minute ago. I think they're on like 35, 36,000. So they overtook us last week.
Probably on 40 now.
Yeah, they're probably on 40. They're going up by the minute. But that person, I did message them because I wanted to see if they'd come on here. And in that conversation, they did actually admit that they bought subscribers in the beginning just to get to 1,000. Well, seeing as they got, I think, 800 subscribers yesterday in a day, but they only had about 3,000 or 4,000 views. I mean, that's just...
And like
impossible.
You say, and I suppose that's one thing that I always look at with views, because you've always said that to us, views are king. And we're on nearly 1.7 million views. To me, that number, I'm like, wow, that's amazing that you've put those videos together and you've got that many, well, over 1 million views. And when I say that to people in the outside world that don't know about YouTube, and they're like, what, you've got a YouTube channel? But then to only have, like you say, we've got 6,500 subscribers, and then you've got people on over 9,000 subscribers that haven't even hit that 1 million views point yet. I just think you're faking yourself, really. And actually, but exactly why? If you want to do that, I'm a really honest person and I play by the rules, and I wouldn't cheat out of something, because I don't see that you're not going to gain anything from it other than other people talking about you and other people not having that respect for you.
But the thing I think people want from it, anyone that cheats on YouTube, is that they think it's going to get them further, in the sense of that, oh, it's going to get me a press trip, or it's going to get me a cruise, or it's going to get me an invite, or it's going to get me something.
It's hugely damaging, because as Paul and Carol said in a recent live on YouTube, Paul said that you shouldn't do it because people have disdain for these people. And believe me, they do. I know I do. I know the people that are cheating, and I feel disdain for them. And they're just cheats. And they make it worse when they try and excuse it, and they make out that they're relying on a German audience or whatever. Like, it's just absolute folly. Yeah. Like, you're cheating. It's clear for everyone to see. No one believes what you're saying. Because to me, comments and feedback on a video, that is a form of payment. Don't obsess over the money that YouTube are paying you. You almost need to forget about the money. Like we do our videos to help people, and even the P&O videos and stuff like that, where we get a bit of a hard time with people saying that we moan too much and stuff like that. We're literally pointing out everything because everyone likes to cruise differently, and we point out things because this one particular thing might not bother you, but it'll bother someone else. Yeah. But we like it when we get comments and we're able to respond to feedback. How do you find press trips?
I've never been on one, and I don't plan on ever going on one.
You're not interested at all?
No, I'm just not interested. I don't want to go and be... Again, I sound like a really horrible person, don't I? But
you are.
Yeah.
I have no interest in going and pretending...
200 subscribers after this.
I don't have any interest in going on a press trip and being with people. Like, Tom is really passionate about cruising. He's really passionate about YouTube. I love cruising, but it's not my biggest passion in life, and nor is YouTube. So I don't particularly want to go on a press trip with a load of people that are in the same boat and have 20 Toms shipped. I just said boat then, didn't I? I actually tell all my friends off when we go on cruises, and I say it's a ship, not a boat. But yeah, to have 20 Toms around me saying, "Oh, have you seen this bit? Have you seen this?" I'd just be like, "Yeah, it's a ship." Yeah.
Do you find them clicky?
Yes, I do find them a little bit clicky. I get out of a press trip what I need to get out of a press trip.
That's what we're
doing.
If
I've got 5 hours, I will be not sitting around having food. I'm not laying down. I'm not
drinking champagne,
having a picture with some champagne by a bar. I'm going around and I'm making a ship tour, and I'm maximising my time on that ship because those are not there for the channel. And I'm really proud, actually, of the ship tours I've got out of those trips this year, because I'm going on there and I'm,
working.
I'm working for 6 hours for the channel.
That's exactly how we look at it. Like, I know when we were invited onto Queen Anne, but it was quite funny the amount of YouTubers that had come up to us, including some of our friends, and they were just be in disbelief at the effort we put in to filming that ship from...
I can't remember who was at the
keel to mast.
I said, I'm going home tonight, standing up all night and editing it. And I did. I stayed up until 6 o'clock the next morning, edited the whole thing and put it on. But
this is our job.
Yeah.
And, some of these people, as I say, we're friendly with some of them, but they'd be sitting there like drinking in the Golden Lion pub, and they're just like, "Are you mad? Oh, have a drink." And it's like, no, we're not here to enjoy ourselves. We're here to film the ship, and that's how we were able to get that ship tour onto YouTube.
Go on it again.
YouTube so quickly.
Yeah, you may never go on that ship ever again. Why would you? When I go on a cruise, when I go on a 2 week. That's why I love going on like a week, 2 week cruise, because I love certain times. I love doing the ship tour first thing in the morning, great and stuff like that. But that's elements of it, and the rest of the time I'm enjoying it with my family. When I'm doing 6 hours, my family's not there. I'm maximising my time on that.
Yeah. I mean, you could take me on a press trip and just dump me in a bar.
Yeah.
And then
you could be the one drinking the champagne.
I would just be drinking the champagne, and I'm quite happy. I'll chat to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think you need to. I'm amazed that people don't have the same mentality as us.
I think with press trips, the reason I said they're clicky, I think in this, that you will meet some of the nicest people that you click with. I clicked with you, clicked with Sisters on the Seas, like when we met Travel Blog Jamie, to be fair, like really, really nice bloke in real life. But you will also meet some of the most egotistic people you are likely to come across. And everyone's an expert. Everyone's doing something way better than you are. Everyone knows the magic formula. Like, we've had people come up to us without invitation and just say, "Oh, why do you do ship tours? Like, ship tours are dead. You need to do vlogs." So yeah, I do think that they can be clicky. I'm not the biggest fan of press trips.
But then I find that really interesting what you just said about people coming up. I've always found it to be smaller channels that have come and tried to throw advice at us. Bigger channels, I've had amazing conversations with them, and we haven't spoken about YouTube at all. We've actually spoken on a personal level, and that I can do. And that's what I think I really struggle with, is talking to people when all they want to talk about is YouTube. When's your next cruise? When are you doing this? And when are you doing that? Because my life is not YouTube and cruising. I am a different entity to all of that.
You are so right. It is definitely the smaller channels. We've never ever been, condescended to by larger channels. It's always smaller ones. Like we went on a press trip once, and we literally had a quite a small YouTube channel of about 2,000 subscribers tell us that we needed to find our niche. This was just at the time of launching the magazine. And she was like, oh, no, you need to find your niche. It's a bit confusing for people because they don't really know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's just like, really? I think we've done all right. But I never invited you to say, you do your cruise hour and leave the rest to us. But
filling the gaps there.
YouTube has clearly brought a lot of joy to you, Tom, but it hasn't brought a huge amount of joy to you, has it?
No.
But it's fair to say that in the last year, your relationship was really quite rocky.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
And it was largely due to cruising.
Largely due to cruising and YouTube, yeah.
So cruising
I would
affected
say
your
more.
relationship.
I would say more YouTube.
I would say more YouTube than cruising, yeah, because don't get me wrong, that makes me sound like an absolute spoiled brat that I got to go on all these lovely cruises and didn't enjoy it. But I think with YouTube, so again, having two small children and a lot of the cruises that we went on last year, other than Arvia, which I did really enjoy Arvia, I think a lot of the other ones were very condensed, stressful trips. And this is not being disrespectful to you in the slightest, but when we go away, it's me that's trying to think of the kids, trying to think of Tom, trying to think of myself, who needs what are we taking. Tom organises all of the travel and will get us where we're going. But I think you kind of were going ahead, weren't you, and booking things that were for very short amounts of time and not really thinking about the implications and the stress that would bring on to us as a family. And especially like going on with the kids, like Tom would be filming and Ernest, for instance, would be like, I don't want to be on camera, take that camera away. And Tom would be like, oh, just try this. And I would find that really, really stressful because I would be like, just put the camera down and don't do that because the kids... And now, obviously, we don't do that at all. And we haven't really been on a cruise, have we, since Arvia? But I think a lot of it with our relationship was with YouTube. YouTube took over Tom's life. YouTube was all he talked about. All he talked about was cruising, how much this cruise would cost, what videos he was going to do, could I be on camera? And it's really interesting, actually, because my mum watches all of our videos and she's really open and honest about any of them. And she'll watch, like, if we've done a review and she'll say, Rach, you were not enjoying that. You were not in the room at all. You could tell that you were just doing that to make Tom happy. And I can actually look back on some of it now. And there were points in YouTube and Instagram where I was really heavily involved because I felt like I had to be. And then I think actually talking openly and honestly and saying to Tom, this is not what I want. Like, YouTube, for me, it's not where I want to be in the future. I wouldn't ever want to be a full-time YouTuber. I have my career as a nurse, and working my way up the ladder, which I have been doing, is what I want to do. But we did separate for quite a few months. We were living under the same roof.
Well, you were supposed to come on MSC Euribia with us.
We were.
And only Tom turned up.
Yeah.
And I think that
caused a bit of friction with
that
us.
caused
It was a
friction
surprise.
between
We wondered where you was. And
It did. We spoke about it afterwards. I think the frustration for us was we didn't really know what was going on. We knew that things weren't right. We turned down a press trip so that we could do it because you'd said how much you're looking forward to it, and then when it came round to it a few days before, it was like, oh, I'm not coming. Yeah. But when you're friends, you realise that things like that are not important. For Tom, it's an obsession, and we relate to that because we know it's an obsession for us. Like, it's YouTube and magazine talk, I would say 95% of a day.
We have to tell each other sometimes,
right,
stop,
that's it.
talk about something else.
About any more work.
Yeah.
And we're lucky because we've got a shared passion. But when there's only that passion
50%
with one,
yeah,
and it's
the
not...
other person doesn't say that,
yeah,
and Rachel will be the first to admit that I was sort of, oh, we could do this cruise, do that cruise, and also we would admit part of the problem, we're married to 10 years. Everyone has that 10 years. There was 11 now. I was talking about I was talking about when we got a bit dodgy. Okay. There was obviously other elements to it, but the part of it was, I think the trust fell down because part of it was I did get a couple of cruises and I didn't tell her for about a couple of months. And really those cruises we couldn't really afford. So that was part of it. Yes, I got obsessed. And I would be constantly, as you said, if there's two people that are obsessed, you can just talk endlessly. When it's the other person, and Rachel was not telling me that actually I'm bored stiff, actually I've turned off, or actually when we used to do reviews, video reviews, and she actually wasn't interested in doing it. Like, don't get me wrong, like there is video reviews you really enjoy and you're a natural on the channel, but I would be like, okay, let's do this, and she'd go along with it, but really didn't want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Your Queen Mary 2 review,
we were not in a good place then.
Well, no.
You
the whole cruise
did not look happy at all.
And that whole, I think for me, I would really love to go back on Queen Mary 2 because I was not myself for the whole time that we were on there. It was the most stressful experience. And I think at that point, I hadn't really told Tom how I was feeling. And it was when we came off of that ship that I kind of threw the bombshell of, I'm really not happy in our marriage anymore. And I think a lot of it, like Tom said, was me not openly communicating with him. I am very much a people pleaser and I will just go along with whatever's happening. And I suppose like in my work life, I'm a very different person to in my personal life. At work, I have to make lots of decisions and I have to be on the ball all the time. And at home, sometimes I just let Tom take the reins and just organise everything because of that. So yeah, I know probably from Queen Mary up until
she was
beginning of this year, I haven't really been present at all. So anyone watching this now will have an.
There was a shot of you walking on the promenade, and I was wondering if you were just going to keep walking off the ship. I mean, you looked so unhappy.
Do you know how where we got to what we are today, though? And I think, marriage is always a work in progress. But I think one of the things we decided was the fact that I was never going to let YouTube get in front of my family and marriage, and Rachel was always going to make sure that YouTube was part of it. And I think that's where we met, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now we're at a point where I love doing YouTube, I love doing the videos, but it's not, as I said, we're not just buying cruises here, there, and everywhere, getting ourselves financial trouble. I'm not putting pressure on getting the video out, but that was the point where Rachel said that YouTube needs to be part of your life and cruising because it's a massive part. And I was like, not in the cruise community, but there's videos I watch, there's channels I watch in like theme park communities and stuff. And it's, to me, I may be wrong, but it's quite obvious that one of them has said, I want to continue with YouTube, and the other person doesn't. And they've chosen YouTube in front of their family or their relationship. If they've got a family, a couple. And I think that's where we met, is that Rachel was determined that that I would carry on with YouTube for a certain place, have it a certain place in our family, but I would never have gone, right, I'm doing YouTube and stuff the kids, stuff the family, because
we've had similar conversations ourselves, and like what you said, we've said we would give it all up if our relationship was put at risk. Like YouTube, yes, we enjoy it, yes, we enjoy the magazine, but we would get rid of all of it if our relationship was at risk. I think, well, over the last few months, you seem so much happy. You're back to the Tom and Rach we met. So you've,
you seem a lot happier.
And I think that part of it was getting YouTube into a certain place. And now I'm happy to have that in a certain place in our relationship. And I don't obsessively talk, or I know the keys now.
What's the worst cruise you've been on for a family?
World Europa. The with the travel and everything. I think it was a cruise at the wrong time. We liked the ship, but the travel was horrendous. And I think
I know you make
the actual ship.
Yes, I know you make the most of it of whatever ship you go on as a family. But what was the worst ship though that was just not for? You didn't think it was best for families, or it lacked something?
Oh,
we made the most of it. I can't think of.
Really difficult question. I would say every ship we've been on, there have been positives and negatives too.
I think if you go on a worst ship and you haven't done your research, every single ship we go on, we do our research, and we know whether it's Ventura, and there's not much on there, but we know we know we're going to do the kids club. There's going to be pools, there's going to be quizzes, or whether we're going on an all-out World Europa where there's going to be slides and things. In this day and age, I don't think there's any. I don't think you should go off and think, oh, that wasn't for me, because there's so much stuff out there now. We don't.
I couldn't give you
travel was the worst. World Europa was the worst travel because we were
because it took you 12 hours, didn't it? You got a train to the port.
So we basically flew to Milan and then we got a train to Genoa. 2 trains. Was it on a Sunday as well?
Yeah.
And Tom hadn't realised we had to actually book specific seats to get on the train, which was like 4 hours. Yeah. The kids were tired, hungry.
We decided to stay overnight.
And we couldn't get on the ship either because there was water leaking down everywhere. So
we stood on the dockside for ages, just looking at the train.
Just what you want.
So, you know, I'm assuming you did that because to save money. So what other advice would you give to people to save money cruising as a family? You know, what tips would you give?
So, we do Avios. So Avios doesn't always directly save you money on the ship, but a lot of times you'll need the flights. So if you're going over to Barcelona, etc., we're looking at different things for this October, and we've got buy one get one free. We literally put all of our food shop onto Avios, onto American Express. We pay it off every month. We just put it on American Express first, and then so we can get to Barcelona this October. We haven't decided what cruise or what we're doing yet, but maybe not a cruise, maybe just a family holiday. But we will get free flights to Barcelona, and that was just because we put all of our food onto Avios, and that's for 4 of us. So that saves us a great deal. You know, to get to Barcelona with EasyJet, you can be talking £600-700. That's a great saving already. Tesco Club Card, another one you can get money off of Royal Caribbean. I think that's again, it's just buying your weekly shop and you're collecting the club card. Even if we use it a lot actually, hotels.com. So a lot of times if you want to go out of Barcelona, you're already in the Mediterranean, you're saving yourself £600 Avios. You got the flights. We even did it business class free, didn't we? Yeah. A few years. And people were like, how can you go business class? Because we collected Avios. We're just collecting American Express and we'll get a buy one, get one free. Tesco's, once again, we'd get the hotel the night before, so we're already in Barcelona. So already you're saving yourselves up to about £1,000. If we wanted to go on a Royal Caribbean, we could save off of Tesco as well. I would say you do have to be, maybe not discuss it all the time with your wife, but quite obsessive with it in the fact of following prices. Prices go up and down. I know you've got your views on P&O, but like, as a family, we do find that P&O and
it's cost effective.
Look,
MSC at times.
P&O, there's a place in the market for them, of course. If you want to go to the Caribbean for a 2-week cruise, a fly cruise, when we've looked at prices, you're not going to get it as cheap as P&O. But there's a humongous but.
Let me just make it clear with P&O, because people think that I absolutely detest them. I don't like the P&O that exists now.
Yeah.
So I had affection for the P&O that existed 10 years ago. And since Paul Ludlow has been in charge, the changes that have been made to P&O have been unbelievable.
Yeah, but they're not changes, they're cutbacks.
Cutbacks, changes, whatever, it's the same difference. But ultimately, it's an inferior cruise experience. And I think what I feel is that those that are new to P&O or new to cruising that go on Avia or Iona or any P&O ship, they love it. And I understand that, because I think even though the standards aren't where they were, the onboard experience is still better than what you get at many hotels on land. But there has been so many cuts. I feel it's almost an unrecognisable cruise line. And I think that there's been certain situations which they should be deeply ashamed of, like the Malefiero scandal. I think that the way that they're still making passengers wait for compensation 8-9 months on, I think is scandalous. I think it's one of the most egregious examples of bad customer service. And a lot
of people on Facebook weren't here for it, though.
They weren't here for it, but they're idiots, to be honest. Like, you get people on Facebook groups, and
that's a whole new subject we could talk about.
We won't go too deep into it,
Facebook.
But on Facebook groups, you get people that develop such affection for one particular cruise line, they will not hear any bad word said about it. And they're the sort of people which will attack us on our videos because we dare point out where the cuts have been made and how this particular cruising experience is inferior to the one that used to be offered for the same amount of money, and they won't have any of it.
No.
And I just...
Half the time, they're the admin as well.
Yeah. But if everyone had that attitude of, oh, I'm not going to complain about any cuts, I'll tell you now, you wait and see what's left. Yeah. There wouldn't be much left. It would get to the point where you wouldn't even get food included. Yeah. So you can call us a whinge bag or whatever you want, but I think we're doing the right thing.
Oh, you say anything on these Facebook sites? As I said, we won't go too delve into it, but you say anything. Cunard and P&O Facebook sites.
And I tell you now, I was going to ask you about Queen Anne, but I won't. But yeah, Cunard, Paul Ludlow is now in charge of that as well. It bloody shakes me to my core. There'll be beach houses popping up, and there'll be a Sindhu on there, and
he will have those cutbacks soon.
Turn down service will be gone. Honestly, I guarantee you that the onboard experience with Cunard, you are about to see it deteriorate.
Oh, 100%.
My manager's actually going on it in September, so I will be very interested to see, because he was telling me about the what's it called, the club,
the Bright Light Society, which is amazing.
He was saying he thinks that they're actually going to have to pay extra for that and for the cocktail.
It's coming. Paul Ludlow is not particularly popular with a lot of P&O cruisers because they blame him for the Malefiero scandal, and people who have been cruising with P&O for years blame him for the cuts which have took place. But
you know who loves him, though?
He is loved by Mickey Harrison and those at the top of Carnival, because he's filling those ships, the money is pouring in, and he has been able to implement all of these cuts to passengers' cruise experience with not much issue. You know, the cuts that have been made post-pandemic are unbelievable. If you actually wrote them down, you know, no nightly turn-down service, getting rid of breakfast in bed. There's been so many, and it's quite funny how they've chose to do it on the British line, and it's because Brits are easygoing. Oh, it's just one of those things. What you know, we're still on holiday. What's it matter? It's funny how they haven't done it on the Americanized lines, and it's because Americans are more fussy than Brits, and they wouldn't have swallowed that amount of cuts.
What they want is the all-inclusive crowd. They want the first-time cruisers that come to here, and actually, you know, that it is better. You know, we found that when we used to do all-inclusive, and when you go on cruise, even the lowest type of cruise is better, isn't it? Because we used to say, oh, you go to a restaurant, then you've got a show every night, you know, sometimes up to Broadway standard. We were like, wow, this is amazing. We used to tell everybody when we first started cruising, you know, you have a meal, and then you go to a show. Oh, what, you don't just go to a buffet? You know, those people that are going on, are, you know, expecting just to have a buffet. That's what we had on Inclusive, didn't we? And then now we've got a choice.
They don't know what they've lost.
Yes,
they don't know what's been cut.
They don't know what they've lost. So we just it gets to the point now. If we have someone comment on one of our Arvia videos and say, "Oh, you're just moaning. I had a great time on Arvia. First cruise I've ever done." Well, yeah, I'd probably be happy. But I remember a P&O where every single night in the buffet they'd do a different type of cuisine. One night it'd be Indian, then it would be American, then it would be French. They'd alternate. Now, God help me, if I ever see another roast dinner or a curry, I'll scream. I'm so
roast
done.
Every night, Rach, isn't it?
It's just for goodness sake, and it's done. They're not stupid. They are doing roast dinners and curries every bloody night in the buffet to push you into the specialty restaurants. Bit like getting rid of smoked salmon in the main dining rooms for breakfast now. They've done it, and it's like, oh yeah, but you can go and pay £3.95 for smoked salmon at the Keel and Cow. It's constant cuts.
Well, when I worked on there, I did 7 months on P&O 2007, just 6 months at sea. I remember the complaints there that they were complaining that you would have your meat and your thing in the restaurant, whatever meal they're having, then they would come around with vegetables, and they would have a, you know, silver service, proper vegetables, and they were moaning because the selection was cut down.
Yeah.
You know, imagine them now, those people. And they complained as well because they used to go round with a trolley with all your cakes on. So they'd come round on the deck. So you were playing your shuffleboard or you were relaxing, and they'd come round with an actual trolley, and 3 people would hand you, just would
They
not
always
happen.
did that on P&O. They would serve your vegetables separately. So you'd order your main, so salmon or whatever, and then the assistant waiter would come up and then they'd do your vegetables. Crêpe Suzette in Epicurean always used to be done at your table. Now it's not done at your table. At best, you might see the trolley over in the distance and it bubbling away. But it's just an inferior experience. So I don't hate P&O. I think there's a place for them in the market. I think their cruise fares are very cheap compared to many other cruise lines. As I said,
that's how we started this. Yeah, you look at that draws you in.
Can't
As a family, they draw us in. Don't
for example, if you wanted to do 2-week Caribbean cruise, you can only do it with P&O. You can't even afford to do that with Marella. So they do offer very enticing cruise fares. So I'll say that. Just before you go, so I'm not going to ask you where you see yourself in 5 years. Where would you not want to be in 5 years?
I would like this to be happening in 5 years' time. I'm sure it will be, and I want to be here sat with Rachel. That's where I'd like to be.
Yeah.
And her still in her own way moaning about me banging on about cruises.
And Cruising with John will be at 1.5 million subscribers.
The Sail Away Uncensored Cruise podcast.